Three, two, one. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tech Talks. I'm Victor here with Julie again. And there's actually been quite a bit in the past
I think it's been 2 weeks.
couple weeks, since
I think we missed last
we
week.
did miss last week, but there has been things that have arrived.
So what is happening?
Let me pull it up real fast. We have first off Android 11, the newest Android
Operating system
update from Google is being thrown out to the devs. So there's a development build going on. There's not really much exciting to talk about yet. If I recall correctly, one of the biggest updates that Android 11 is going to be coming out that is going to be affecting the people that use Android is a feature that's actually been on iPhone for a while, which is allowing app permissions for one-time use. So if an app says, hey, I need your map access or to access your location, and it right now asks, all right, do you want to use it all the time or only when the app is open? Or
wait, I thought it was only the two options, either the always or just this once.
No, just this once is coming now with Android 11. It was the permissions are, you can have it always allow, or you can have it only when app is open.
And that's for what specifically?
Apps for your Android phone, any app that is asking for permissions.
Are you sure? Because I've always had it pop up the just this once or always.
It's use or only when the phone, just when the app is open, but not just this once.
Okay, so if the app is
open then
it'll say just this once?
No, it's essentially with just the app, when the app is open. So let's take Google Maps, for example. Google Maps, when you first open it, will ask for location services so that it can use the phone's location services to figure out
go on,
where it is. When you say only use it when the app is open, that means that when you are using Facebook, Google Maps is not using your location services to update what's going on. If you have it always allow, then Google Maps can update your location even if you are not on the map app.
Yeah. Okay, so you're talking about the general permissions, not like, I was thinking more like when you're on a website and you click on a thing, like, for example, if you click on a Facebook thing and you were just in Chrome, and it'll say, do you want to open with the Facebook app or like Chrome, and then it's always or just this once.
So that is opening tasks in another app. So that's a different system altogether. That's not permissions as to what the app is allowed to do. That's opening links. So if you have, let's say you're on Facebook and somebody has a Twitter link, it will ask you, do you want to open this in the Twitter app or do you want to open this in Chrome? And you can tell it to open in the Twitter app. But let's say you don't always want it to open in the Twitter app. You can just say, open in the Twitter app this one time. Mm-hmm. But that's a different thing than permissions, which permissions are telling a app whether it can access your storage, your location, account data, things like
pictures,
that.
All that. Okay, that is good to know. And I'm glad that you clarified. Yeah, the permissions, or I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit of a headache, so my processing might be a little slow. But it's permissions. I forgot now, but that's fine.
Permissions versus app links or hyperlinks. Essentially, that's what you were talking about, was hyperlinks leading to different apps. The other thing is, so the Android 11 still probably won't be around until Pixel 5, right? Like, they're just in the development stages right now. will probably come out with Pixel 5, and that will be the end of the year.
Does Google always make the Android operating systems? Is that what Android
Yes.
is? It's from Google.
Android is a
specifically?
Google
Okay.
operating system, and then they have it open source so that everybody has, or other manufacturers can use it, and they have licenses that they also have contracts with manufacturers like Samsung. If you're going to use it, you have to make sure that these Google apps are on there and things like that.
Makes sense. Okay.
Next up, back on the Google train is Google Adsense is actually being used to target businesses for and extorting businesses. Essentially, what is being done is there is a group of people or groups of people that figured out that if you could shut somebody's Google AdSense account down, and the AdSense account, for people that don't know, is what businesses use to track their Google ads when they pay for ads for Google and things like that, and numerous other features, but that's primarily what it is. If they find that a bunch of bots, if you, let's say you wanted to increase traffic to your site by pretending that a bunch of bots are clicking on your link, they'll shut down your AdSense account. Well, now extorters are threatening to use that same tactic against businesses to get their AdSense shut down.
That's
It's very much
that's messy.
I guess the best way to think of it is very similar to how there was recently that article about the guy using a bunch of phones to make a traffic jam on the street and Google Maps. That's essentially what they were. That's a not exactly one-to-one analogy, but it's a similar kind of idea where you're just faking things to shut things down.
Yeah. That when people, if and when people do that, it's hard to comment on because we don't know the full context. Every situation is different. But that I can see how that would be problematic for Google, for businesses.
Yeah. And I'm sure Google will be able to figure out some sort of system in order to algorithm it out to so that people aren't getting their AdSense shut down, or some sort of process where you can request AdSense. I mean, I'm sure there's already a process if your AdSense got shut down, a request to have it reopened. But that's still a lot of any downtime with that kind of stuff can be a real hindrance. So that was the other part of Google. And what is the last thing? There's another Google.
All about Google.
It's actually, we have Google, we have Microsoft.
Oh, so you're saying the last of the Google
The last
things.
of the Google things.
Oh, I also have the thing, I don't remember.
The Google Assistant.
Yeah, I was having a lot of difficulty recently with our Google Assistant on the Home Hub. And I was washing dishes, so my hands were wet and I couldn't use it. I tried multiple times to get it to navigate to the YouTube app and to just open the first video. So many times I tried, and it was like playing first one by Ad Astra, and it played that like 3 or 4 of the times that I was trying to get it to go. Enough that I remember the thing it was.
Yeah.
And I tried naming the name of what the first one. I was just saying like open YouTube, which it did successfully. I couldn't say what's on YouTube because then it was also searching something weird. I had to say open the YouTube app, and then I also couldn't by voice, but I've done this in the past and not had
Yeah.
problems. So I don't know if there's been well, there have been updates since, but it seems like it's worse now,
I
and I
think
can't use YouTube now.
Yeah, I think there was some sort of bug, and it probably might still be persisting because it probably is like a small one. But it did happen to affect it because I did try it too. So what she's talking about is when you're using the Home Hub or the Nest Hub,
I'm trying to.
and it has like the screen with the screen on it. If you the general way of it working is you're able to ask it to open YouTube, and then it'll give you a list of a few different videos that are things that it thinks that you might want to watch. Generally, it's the same feed that on your Google
from the
News
same
feed,
channels
yeah.
or whatnot. Yeah.
Your YouTube feed is essentially brought up, and then you select to play the first one. And this is even advertised in that way of being done. And it's worked for us before, but I think at some point there was a update to the assistant behind the scenes, probably server side, that caused the bug. And it seemed to me the way it was reacting was that the continuation of what you just talked about didn't seem to exactly work, and that might have broke. And so even if you tried to start it as a separate conversation, it doesn't know the context of what is being opened in Google or in YouTube
so when I
at
was
all.
saying open the first one, it wasn't even thinking about the fact that it had YouTube open.
That's what I'm thinking
That
happened.
makes sense. And then when
logically,
I was trying to look at recipes, and it was similarly, it was not working.
yeah, I think there was some sort of bug in the continuous
Yeah,
conversation
that makes sense.
when we had it, and who knows, maybe Google's already patched it, or maybe not.
Since last night, well, I guess it was yesterday.
I mean,
morning.
Google can be on top of that stuff pretty
Maybe.
fast. It depends on how big of a thing it was. So yeah, the other thing is Google is. It seems like Google is going to be taking down Play Music at some point in the future and replacing it with YouTube Music. And recently, there's an article from The Verge that's saying that they are testing out using the Google Play Music feature of uploading your own songs to the YouTube Music app, so that you can, if you have your own CDs that you got and you want to upload them to YouTube Music, so that you can have them on your playlists, you could do that.
That would be nice. It is interesting. Like, it's nice that they want this all condensed and they've got the YouTube name, and so I guess just going with that. But I've gotten so used to using the Play Music app, even for my podcasts, that I really don't want them to change.
Yeah,
I'm biased.
It's Google does have a structure problem when it comes to their apps not being very uniform. And it's funny that we're actually going to talk about the other thing around, because there is a balance to strike, and we've talked about this in the past, how a lot of apps started breaking up into smaller apps to do one thing very well instead of having an all-in-one app that does a bunch of things very bad. I think we talked about that with Fitbit having linked apps, so that the apps that are linked to it are usually individual apps that do that one particular thing very well, so that Fitbit doesn't have to make an all-in-one app that does everything. That only okay, right? So, and Google, though, unlike Microsoft or Apple, has so many different apps. It's actually the far end extreme of the other way, where they have too many apps and there's no cohesiveness at all between the apps, between, Hangouts and Voice, or Duo, or like, it's not like there's one outside of Google.com. There's not one place that you could seamlessly switch between, like having a conversation on your phone to having a video call to text messaging. right? Like they have multiple different apps for it, and they're not really linked together that well. But on the other note of that, Microsoft is actually going to be combining their apps, it looks like, to an all-in-one app, which is so it looks like Office. There's going to be an all-in-one Office app soon coming out from Microsoft for the phone, so that when you are looking up your documents on your phone, you have just one app that opens your docs, your Excel sheets, your whatever else, PowerPoints and things like that, instead of 4 different apps or an app for each different service. And I don't know how I feel about that either. Like it aesthetically, it's nice to have just one app, right, instead of 4 different apps on your device. But again, it comes to this whole doing multiple things kind of okay, or having an app that does one thing really well.
And 2, you've got a device, you've got a phone as the one place that it's all collected. Like, I don't mind having Google Docs separate from Google Sheets, because they're different, but they each do their thing really well. And it gets to be kind of cumbersome if you just were to put that all together. I like that on the computer. It is, I mean,
They're also separate apps.
Yeah, they're separate, but it's more cohesive, I guess, within your Google Drive. I don't know. It's like on your phone, it's separate apps very clearly, but on the computer, because you're within the browser's like
Yeah, I think also it adds just like an extra layer. So and this is funny because MKBHD just had a video talking about how a lot of what phones do to upgrade is just saving you seconds of time, right? Like even half seconds of time. But it adds up a lot as to how a phone affects you when it comes to what you want to do on it. So he was talking about the new flip phones that have been showing up from Android or from Samsung and Motorola. Motorola has the new Razr, Samsung has the new flip phone too. And he was talking about one specific thing is on the Motorola Razr, the flip function has a spring load. So once you get it about halfway up, it'll flip the rest of the way, no problem. So you're able to open it up one-handed. While with the other phone, it's not spring loaded. It's actually designed so that when you open it, you could even open it halfway and it'll stay there and then all the way. But then because of that, you have to open it with 2 hands. On top of that, one of them has a screen on the front and the other one does not, or has a very limited one. And being able, if you have to open up your phone every time you want to check a notification or mark email as read even, or, you know.
And that's the one you have to open with 2 hands?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
So it, like, these are just seemingly design choices, but it actually ends up in functionality choices as well, as to, you know, what saving you just a second here. Instead of having to flip up your phone to check a notification, you can see it without opening up your phone because it has a screen on the front. And so back to why Microsoft All-in-One is when you wanted to look at a Word document, you could just open up the Word app straight from your phone. But now you have to go through a second layer. You have to open up mostly because the Word app has all your recent documents that you've recently looked at. So now you have to open up your phone, and then you have to open up that Microsoft app, and then you have to open up the Word, which is adding an extra layer that I don't think is necessarily necessary. But who knows? Maybe Microsoft is doing something with the app that we don't know about. So
it doesn't hurt, I guess, for them to have something like Drive. Drive would be Google's similar, like, all-in-one app. But it would be nice if they would at least keep the other and keep doing them well.
Yeah. Well, Microsoft does have OneDrive, which is the same concept. And then you when you have to open up a Word document, it'll just be like, open up in Word, and you can do, yeah.
No.
So It's interesting. Um, I don't know how I necessarily feel about it, but that's kind of my initial thoughts.
Is there
Uh,
more?
there is more about Edge. So staying on the Microsoft train, I've been using Edge for a while now, a few months, the new Chromium Edge, and I was thinking of, or I was trying to like figure out it. It's really good, except for a couple things, and those couple things are pretty crucial. And it's starting to get to the point where I might still continue using Google Chrome as my primary until these things are figured out. Um, so first of all, there's the ink. The original Edge has this program called Ink, where you could mark up on it with like a stylus, and you could do all sorts of things with a web page, create collections from sections of the page and things like that. Very useful feature. Probably much the only good thing about the old Edge browser was this feature.
Okay.
And it's not on Chrome. And I get that they probably have to rebuild it from the ground up for Chromium, and so that's going to take a while. They've announced that they are going to do it, and that's kind of the least of the my problems. It's just a really cool feature that was on the old Edge and is not on the new one. And right now, if you download the new Edge with their system, it takes over the old Edge. I have to pick and choose which Edge that you're using. The other one is better Chrome extension support. So right now, Edge does allow Chrome extensions. You have to turn on manually the ability to allow third or other extensions outside of the Microsoft extensions. And right now, Chrome extensions are just more robust. That's been a big store for a while, and I use things like the passwords protector and the Notes app. But right now, when you are logging in to things like the Notes app, it doesn't let you utilize some of them because they require a direct sync with Google, it seems. And since Edge doesn't sync with Google like a Google account does, it syncs with the Microsoft platform, you can't use some of these extensions that I find very useful. And so I think they have to find some way to integrate a lot of the Chrome apps that are reliant on using a Microsoft account or a Google account. On top of that, password generator. They have password saving features on the Chrome Edge, but they don't have any password generators on the Chrome Edge. So when you're creating a new account for something, that was a super useful feature in Chrome, and probably the biggest reason why I would go over back to Chrome is just so that I can save passwords through a password that is generated by a password generator, and like that's just security, right? Like extra security. Chromecast support right now. Technically, there is an ability to use Chromecast support, but it's horrible. Essentially, it is mirroring right now, and so anytime your phone is doing, or your phone or your computer is doing any other loading, there's a lot of audio sync issues when it comes to casting it to your phone or to a TV or things like that. While with the original Chrome browser, it's built into the website to the point where you could stream YouTube to your TV, and then it starts. I don't know exactly how it works, but essentially the stream goes directly to the TV, and your computer use isn't going to be affecting that stream. It's just going direct to that, and I think that the Edge needs to get that kind of Chromecast support in. And then the last thing is the password account check, which is more of a overall Microsoft problem than it is just an Edge problem. But on Chrome, when you save passwords, it also checks, and you can go into your security settings on your Google account, and it'll say like, hey, you have like 10 passwords that are the exact same. You might want to change those up. And it makes it very easy for you to find exactly which passwords that should be changed and change them. It'll send you to the site that you need to change them and everything. So like, very useful to be able to keep track of your passwords and to make sure that you're not utilizing the same password across things. And I believe the Chrome or Google accounts is not just saving your passwords on your websites, but also your app passwords. So you'll be able to, if your app passwords and Chrome passwords are also you're doing the same thing, using the same passwords for different apps on your phone, it's able to store those too. Just overall nice to be able to have those features too, and just saving app passwords for your phone so you don't have to constantly remember the login for every app that you have, but you also don't want it to log in automatically.
Security is good.
Yeah. The other part to so that's the end of the Microsoft stuff, but we did talk a little bit about the flip phones, the new flip phones that Samsung and Motorola have out. But
they're out already?
Yeah, they're out.
Oh.
I did also have a secondary note about those, which as it seems like flip phone. This goes back to the convenience and having a one app that does all poorly or mediocrely, or versus multiple apps that do one single thing really well. So when we first heard about the flip phones, a lot of the smartphone flip phones, the first generation, was like the Samsung Fold, which was it folded outwards so that you had a phone turn into a tablet. That was the concept behind it, is so that you could have a phone and a tablet at once. It did neither one of them really well, though, because the tablet wasn't quite big enough to do all the cool tablet stuff that you could do, and the phone ended up being such a skinny little thing that it was also pretty crap for the phone side, too. So it wasn't that fantastic on either end. Not to mention super destructive destructible. And but then they transitioned to the flip phone, as in the old style Motorola Razr, which was the nostalgia bit that Motorola kind of
tempted to feed on.
Yeah, it fed on, and but not. It worked better not only because of the nostalgia, but because it was more practical. It didn't turn it into a tablet. It felt like a regular phone still, even when flipped up. But then you also flipped it down, and you had half the size to fit in your pocket. And that just made it more convenient, and just overall kind of a better phone, even if it's $1,300. But that was also an interesting fact. Within a few months, between 6 months, you had the Galaxy Fold, which came out at a couple thousand, almost $3,000 or something like that. And then, like, not even 6 months later, I'd say, the new Samsung Fold that flips in half the other way vertically was less than $1,300. So this is already going down in price, and is, I'm thinking, something that a lot of phones in the future, even cheap phones, might end up adapting, because the convenience of having half the size of your phone in your pocket is just back to what we used to be. It was what it used to be like,
but
right?
Still getting
but still getting the smartphone experience
and the big screen.
And the big screen too, yeah.
Yeah.
The aspect ratio is a bit different because it's a little bit thinner and a little bit taller. But overall, like, it ended up, I think it's going to be a more convenient thing, and I think that's going to be the way most folding phones go, is vertically, not horizontally, because I don't think the app or the tablet phone is necessarily what people are looking for. I think, with the exception of the way Microsoft's doing it. Microsoft is doing the Duo and Neo, but they're not doing a folding screen. They're having two separate screens.
Yeah.
And that has a lot of practical uses too. It's not necessarily trying to be a phone at that point. It's trying to be more of a work product that has phone features. The Duo is, at least. So I think that those are my thoughts on the between Google and Microsoft.
Motorola? Oh, on the other
Google
things,
and Microsoft, yeah, and Motorola was in there too, but I think Google actually owned Motorola for a while.
I don't know.
So that was, I think that I have more, but I think that's actually a pretty good place to stop. Just concentrating on those two companies and what they're doing, and some additional thoughts as to where smartphones are going.
And that is that, huh?
That is that. Oh, and update on the new Google Maps update. Seems good. It seems like a nice update.
Oh, yeah. And it's been telling me speed traps lately. There was a trap it told me about a speed trap when there was a traffic jam and traffic was only going 30 miles an hour. And I was like, okay, none of us are speeding, but okay. And then I did see the cop. So I was like, well, it's nice that, it does that now, I guess.
Yeah, the crowdsourcing is back to Google's roots of what Google, that's kind of how Google started, was crowdsourcing data of what websites are good. And then they eventually got AI to just do all the sourcing of data. But some things like speed traps and just general maps, I also looked at the map app and they had the ability to add roads that are missing. You can add stores that are missing.
You can add roads? We can add...
I saw now recently that, there are roads that can be added.
Huh. And then do they verify them, though? So
well, yeah, I'm sure you just adding a road doesn't do anything.
Maybe it adds it for you only, or until enough people do, or something.
Yeah, I think enough people.
And then people
have
drive on it, and they're like, "Oh, this is legit."
Yeah.
Yeah, I could. Okay, that makes sense. The other day, I don't know if this is because of the update, but that it was annoying that I was driving and Google's directions weren't the clearest. There was a road that split, one to go south one to go west, one to go east, onto a highway, and Google's direction to me was go toward east and then west. It said below that, but I'm in a panic at the Y looking at it because I had thought oh, I'm just going on this road. And then I read the direction. I read the wrong one because it was listed first, and I went that way. And then I got stuck in traffic going the wrong direction, a bad traffic jam. And so that was not convenient. I don't like that Google says go toward this to go to the opposite when it's only two. But that's
so
minimal and specific to certain areas, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it said go towards the west, but that's strictly because the name.
Going on the only road you're already on that only goes one of two ways, and we're going to first tell you go toward the other thing, and then ultimately don't go that way, though. Whatever. I eventually got here really late, though. I'm sorry about that.
You didn't get here late. You were here. Oh, yeah, that was yesterday.
Yeah, you had to walk.
I walked. I was like, you didn't get here late today.
No, not today.
But we will be heading off then. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. And we'll see you next week. Mm-hmm. Have a nice week.